They would see me at a club. I mean, my first house, it was profitable. It was all about working. Every month I had a job, and that was at the age of 16. So I was always Yeah, I never touched a hatchet. I didn't say ball yet. So I didn't touch a ball yet, but I already was in the scene, and I knew the people. I went to clubs. I went to track. I went to Sound Factory, but I was a Tunnel Tracks underground kid, and I battled all the house kids. So that's how I learned. People go to tracks, and they were like, "Hi, Julian," and I would battle. And by then I was battling because of the fact that I was incorporated and I was recruited from the House of Diva to the House of Magnifique by late. At that time was my gay grandmother, Kevin Milan. So he incorporated me in the House of Magnifique. Then from there, then everything else started going, hop, dip, and spin the old way, the only way.
Word. What was the first ball you walked?
The first ball I walked, which was a scandal. The first ball I walked, catch it, was the Milan Ball, Odyssey Ball at the Gay and Lesbian Center on 13th Street and 7th Avenue, Manhattan.
Yes!
And I walked against someone, and they touched me while we were voguing, and I was in a dip. And I didn't know that you don't get up and push the person because they touched you. So I was right, you don't touch me if I'm voguing. So that person was in a dip, and I think he kicked me. We were both in our dips, our final dips, and he kind of kicked me so I could fall off my dip. So I fell into a layout, but then I was pissed. So I got up and I pushed him, and the ballroom scene flew, and the tables went up, and then they had to escort me out. And they were like, "Julian, run home." And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know that you were not, there were certain rules. Like the thing is that he just kicked me. Like he just kicked my leg, which was already extended in the air, and I fell. Well, that means he did better. No shade, but I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I fell into a layout. Like you couldn't tell that I fell. So I fell into a layout because the person that trained me was quite older. So I fell into a layout, and then I got up, and I got out of character, and I pushed him. And then, a fight broke out. So that was my first time at a ball, and that was kind of how I started.
So who was your trainer?
My trainer, how it happened was I didn't like the person because we were at the same clubs, and I really didn't see the person at all, and we didn't look at each other, and I was like, I'm so over this person, I'm going to mention the person's name. And then I was like, I can't stand this person. And then we're leaving Tunnel that night, and then all of a sudden we're going to the same train, and I was like, I can't stand this person. Then we're going in the same train going towards Brooklyn over the bridge, and I was like, what's going on here? Then we get off the same train stop in Brooklyn. We walk 5 blocks over, walk 2 blocks down to the same block in Brooklyn, and that person is living across the street from me, and I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, snap.
Mama just moved into the block in a big house across the street from me.
Oh, no.
Legendary Amy Extravaganza. That's how we met. I was like, I like her. But then, not only that, I go to school, and who's the guest teacher? Amy, because she graduated 2 years prior.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'm not going to class. And my dance teacher was like, I want to introduce you to someone. So when I walk in, I'm thinking it's, another teacher. And it's Amy, of course, a grand teacher. And she's looking at me and we're smirking. And she goes, are you going to join my class? And I was like, no, I have a headache. And I walked away. And then she ran after me and she was like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. She goes, well, let me introduce myself. And I said, I know who you are. And she's like, well, let me introduce myself. She was like, keep it, and she said it, keep it cute. I'm going to try to introduce myself one more time. And I was like, go ahead, do it again. So she's like, I'm Amy Extravaganza. And I was like, well, I'm Julian Diva. And from then on, that day on, we became friends and she started training me. She kind of corrected my lining. I was I hit beats Ray Cha-Cha-ly, and that's because she didn't like it. She was like, it's Ray Cha-Cha, because I had a thing of always dancing and voguing to salsa. So she was like, you're incorporating salsa too much. Can you just give me a beat, like a straight line? So she kind of incorporated my lines. I was taught dips, how to do dips. I already had my splits and straddle, put my leg behind my back. You saw the pictures. Right. So she just kind of cleaned everything. But it was more performance. Like, she trained everyone that was in the house at that time to get jobs. She was a teacher, and at the same time she graduated, she went to Brooklyn College, and then she was in Ballet Hispanico. So she was a ballet dancer, but her thing was, we're going to work, because she was in Extravaganza. Right. So they were always working. So she was training us to do the same exact thing and enjoy it. So
Word.
It was profitable, it was phenomenal, and it was something that will always be a great memory to me. And I appreciate it 100%, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to teach the women that I've taught that actually made a staple in the community and became legends and now are actually statements. So thank you to Amy.
Right. Well, what were some of the categories that you walked during your balancing career?
It was Vogue. It was voguing. When I became a Milan is when, that's when Roger, because the thing is, what happened was, this is how it goes. From the fact of Amy teaching me, I kind of had this thing, I kind of inherited teaching. I liked teaching. So, what house was I in before Milan? Oh yeah, it was Magnifique, and then the House of Magnifique closed, and then before there was no 007 then. And Amy had opened up a house, and she left the House of Extravaganza, and she opened up the House of Extraordinaire, and I was her first child because she was my mother. But then we had a personal dispute, and I left her and certain members of the house, and I went my own merry way. But I said I was going to do the ball by myself. So the day before is the day I stopped talking to her, and the day of those pictures that you see that are causing a scandal are the day after. I said I'm going to walk a ball at the Mark Ballroom, and that was 1990, and probably even earlier, who knows. And I walked, and from then on, I was probably just getting attention, and people were seeing me. And then I became a Milan. So when I became a Milan, it's because Terry saw me, and he sat me down, and the category wasn't voguing. He didn't want me for voguing. He was like, I know about you and your friend Delilah, and your other friend Jency, because he knew about the girls I hung out with, which were dancers. He goes, I want all three of you, because I know it comes in the package. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Delilah's a voguer. He goes, I've seen her. He goes, I said, Jency is a dancer. He goes, okay. I said, well, what do you want me for? Because, what do you want me for? He was like, it's Butch Queen up in drag.
Oh, shit.
I was like, Butch Queen, what? And who? What? Why? And he was like, well, because you have a pretty face, you have a big butt, and I'm gonna train you. I was like, well, I don't have any clothing for it. He goes, don't worry about it. You're a Milan. And because you're a Milan, I'm going to incorporate all that. He goes, all you have to do is come to the ball. And I was like, well, I don't have money. I was already giving excuses. I was like, I don't have money for Butch Queen up and drag. He goes, don't worry about it, makeup and everything. He goes, I'm going to train you for a year, and then after the year, you start doing it yourself. And I was like, this is over. And I was like, I'll trick him and then try to do something else. 3 months later, he passed away. But 3 months later, when he named me and Delilah, we went to a meeting, and 3 months later, he passed away. But we were incorporating, going into house meetings and stuff like that, and seeing people, and they already knew that I was a Milan. So I was a Milan, and someone took me under their wing, and I started walking, and me and Delilah started walking, and we were getting our tents across the board. Then Roger came to the States, because he wasn't in the United States at that time, and he was in New York, and he was like, embraced me, and he was like, hi to Delilah and the girls and me, and then I started walking, and I won for the House of Milan runway, and I also walked one Vogue for them. That's it. The reason I only did one was because I didn't want to do it anymore. I no longer wanted to Vogue, and I didn't feel the feeling anymore. I felt that there was no longer a competition. I went into the ballroom scene because I felt the competition. I was like, bring it. I want to bring it to you. I didn't go in there because I felt that I needed to prove something to someone. Not that people are doing that, but in general that I had to prove something to someone, or that was the only outlet I had at that moment, because it was, but not at that moment. I did it because I was a dancer, and I wanted to dance, and I liked competing.
Wow.
And so that was kind of how I got into voguing.
So for those who are new, who are thinking about walking the ball and they don't know how to exactly approach the ball scene and come out, I want to ask you something. Were you scared? How were you feeling, and how did you deal with that? And how did you plan something?
Well, the question was very much. I didn't hear you because of the.
The question is for those who are new and thinking about coming into the ball, and thinking about how they should come into the ball. First of all, were you nervous? Second of all, how did you plan it to come out and
Well, I wasn't nervous because they came to me. I never had to And it wasn't because I'm feeling grand. It was very much the truth. Somebody came up to me and said, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm just a kid. And they're like, do you know about houses? No. Okay, I want you in my house. Okay, you seem nice. But, here's a drink. Oh, okay, well, I'm not going to take you. Yeah, I'm not going to take your drink. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because my mother can never take a drink from strangers. So that was how, and because of that, they were like, we like you. They're like, we like you. My first house, it was a strict house. So the reason I was incorporated was because, to make it clear, never did any form of drugs in my life. Never smoked a cigarette. Not that cigarettes are bad. My mother doesn't like a loca. But I've never taken any form of drugs. I've never smoked weed, so people don't know that drugs are equivalent to weed, and weed is a drug. I've never done it myself personally. If anyone else has their experiences, that's theirs. Not judging, not questioning. So you were incorporated in that house because you were a clean kid. So I lived for that, for the House of Diva. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, and you couldn't not even be an alcoholic. If you were too much drinking, you got kicked out. If you were scandalous sexually and they knew about it, you got kicked out. So it was a fabulous house for me.
All right.
It's just that I wanted more, and became a Magnifique. Now, to incorporate the question that you had stated was, just don't jump into anything. Let people come to you. Like, if you go into a club and you want to vogue, or if you want to do whatever category it is, it's for you to kind of just catch the word that you got with Mariana. You just purchase into the club, honey. Okay. So you purchase stuff in there, people will see your talent, and it can be anything from realness to voguing to hip-hop to anything. And kind of showcase yourself. Let people come to you. Let them want you. And then you can start a rapport with them. And then don't jump into their house in 2 seconds. Kind of hang out with them. See if they call you, because now we're in 2015, so they can text you, call you, email, Facebook, Twitter. So they can do all that if they really want you in their house as a family member. Yeah. Stay with them for a couple of months, maybe a month or two, and hang out with them. Go to BBQs, go to a club, have a house party. See how they really are. Even if you get into an argument, see how the argument kind of finishes. If it starts to be a little too dramatic for you and they call you out of your name, then key right there, girl, I'm not supposed to be with you people. And don't be shy to ask questions. Yeah, hello. Don't be shy to ask questions. Like, you want me to be in your house because I can pop, dip, and spin and put my leg behind my neck for an hour. What can you do for me? No shade. So if you want me to be in your house to win your trophies, I'm seeing other houses. People are traveling to Europe. Can you take me on that train too? That's it. It's 2015, but no shade. Let's go back. I remember in 1988 that was the same exact thing that I was told. They're like, well, what can they do for you? Can they give you a job? This is a talent. This is fabulous. And it's for you to enjoy it. But if somebody wants you for your talent and you're not a free agent, but they want to incorporate you within their world, in their house, in their business, then you need to get paid. You need to, whether you're 16, 15, 14, 13, you're in a Kiki house, 007, you need to get paid. Everyone's getting paid. Everyone deserves to get paid and acknowledged for their talent. It's not being shady. It's just the truth. If I can't get to you because my phone is off and the booking was tomorrow, well, my phone is off. But if you paid me, my phone would be on, and I would be in that plane with you. So, pay me.
Word. Okay, I know you mentioned a couple of women's names earlier who are,
yes.
and influenced in the ballroom scene. Tell us how you were a part of that. Okay,
well, I'm going to start with the first woman that I know, which was, please, father. This is my father I'm speaking to. Dada. If I say the name wrong, don't shoot me, don't text me. Emilia Extravaganza was the first, I think, vulgar in the House of Extravaganza with Amy, so they both did it, but Emilia was very fun. This is before we started voting, like, which we reserved them. She was extremely fun, a dancer, and then there was Amy. So they were the two women there in the House of Extravaganza. Let's not forget they were women in the House of Magnifique, and that was, my sister still was Ramona, Magnifique, Loretta, also Ivy, and there was another one in the House of Magnifique that she went to the House of Diva, and I don't remember if it was Marianne or something.
You and then that is her.
Yeah, hello. Exactly. I don't catch it. And then I remember after Amy retired, but between that, please guys don't attack me. Moet Richards. And Moet Richards was, I believe, African-American woman, and she was voguing at the same time that Amy was voguing.